Happy Sunday, apprentices. We had a little debate this last week, but I didn't get to watch it because some electrician drilled into the fiber optic line for my entire neighborhood. That's what's next on today's show. Trading Forex or any other financial instrument carries substantial risk. The topics discussed on this show are the views of the host and the producers only. You should consult with your financial planner before investing in Forex or any other financial instrument. Don't be a dumbass.
Welcome to Day Trading Plumber, episode 58. I'm Matt Simpson, and don't worry, we're not going to talk about politics. And you're not here for me.
We'll talk around the curbs of politics, because we're going to trade on election night. So there's no way to really kind of describe what we're expecting or what's happened in the past.
November 3rd.
Without talking a little bit about politics. It's just sad that you got to pick a side.
Well, we can talk about what's happening without putting our opinions in.
Right.
I think
Good
our
point.
listeners know where we sit on the political spectrum, and quite honestly, I don't think they give a damn.
No, and neither do I care what people's political...
Who the hell are we to tell people how to vote? That's an abuse of a platform.
Well, dude, is Facebook and Instagram, have they left you alone yet? Are you registered to vote? Every 5 seconds.
No, but hang on, my phone's ringing. I think that's my warranty about my car again.
Oh, yeah. Those guys.
Your ISP went out during training today. What a shitty week you've had.
Let me tell you, it's been one of those challenging weeks. Up and down in trading, which I don't know why I'm surprised, because when I was demo trading testing out this new session box day trading strategy, I was very up and down in demo trading. And then I got a little consistent, so I threw real money in an account. And through some emotional stupidity, I'm in a negative position right now, maybe a little over 10%, in drawdown. But I have my shining days when I follow the rules of the system, and I don't have mental errors. So I've been up and down this week. So you have the normal stresses of trading. And then some company putting up light poles down the street. It just put my trades on the 4 a.m. to, I think it finally broke the box on about 3 or 4 pairs right around 6:30, 7 a.m. So I got the trades on. I'm staring at my MT4 platform and the prices aren't moving. And I'm like kind of in a daze still. And I'm like, that's pretty odd. I've never stared at the price, my positions, and they don't even change by like cents for longer than a minute or two. And then I get the doing that MT4 makes when you lose a connection. So I lose connection. Instantly I go, I forgot to pay the bill. Or something happened, right? There's no way it's a nationwide outage. And I'll be honest with you, part of me kind of thought like, oh, here it is. Here's the attack, right? Or whatever. Because it's never been out like that for me. So luckily I have MT4 on my phone and cell service. So I was able to not panic and look at my positions. And then I called my provider, Comcast Xfinity, and I don't even get like the thing. We know there's an outage in your area because now
Stop calling us.
Now they have like your account linked to your cell phone number. So, which is progress, right? Do you have to waste my time? Hit 4 if you have and then it goes, you're 108th in line. So I knew right away it wasn't a problem with the house, a problem with my equipment. So I go, you know what? I'll take the dog on a walk early, right? Because usually I take him right before I work out and then again after I work out. But so I take him out. I go my normal route. And at that time, there's what looked like a foreman and a couple junior, apprentices standing there with like a core drill machine, like with this ghost look on their face.
What's a core drill machine do?
It drills a hole through concrete or hard surface. And usually when you see them in the streets or something, it's one of those site-wise trucks and they're, drilling down to service, something. These guys are putting in a new traffic light at an intersection here because Castle Rock's growing so fast, like 4,000 homes a month. It's not, I'm exaggerating, but it feels like it. So what used to be, a stop and go intersection here, they're putting lights up. I kind of intuitively guessing that they messed something up. I was like, yeah, you guys are having a hell of a morning, aren't you? And they're like, and the foreman's like, no doubt about that. We just hit the fiber optic. And I was like, oh, that's why my internet's out. He's like, it's out? And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, Xfinity pretty much knew by my phone number, that they said it was going to be back up within the hour, the recording. And this guy's like, well, I don't know. And I take the dog for a walk. I come back home a different way. And then an hour goes by. And then now Xfinity puts me on that auto text thing. So now I'm starting to get like text updates, which was kind of nice. But it was funny because it was like, hey, there's a internet outage in your area. And it was about 2 hours late, right? In this day and age with streaming and everything, you can't be 2 hours late if you're going to have a system like that in place. It needs to be like triggered when the core drill blade hit the up, send the, it should be that fast, right? Because I get a notification when I spend $5 at a store that fast from my bank.
Everything should happen at the speed of Bruce Lee's fists.
Right. So I get the text and it's like, it's a pretty intuitive system. Should be on within the hour. And then it's not. And no updates. So I work out. Now my trading day is pretty much done. I also had a couple Zoom meetings with potential clients or people I'm already coaching. I've got those rescheduled. It just kind of screws your whole day up when you work from home. So I work out, go on a bike ride. Now I see like 40 Xfinity trucks, a site-wise truck, a crane, and I'm like, oh my God.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So then I see the Xfinity guy. It looks like he's in charge. I was like, so I'm pretty sure my internet's not coming back on within the hour, right? And he's like, hell no, we got to replace a 4,000 line fiber optic. And I'm like, I had a meeting set up with these individuals that are wanting my help to take some technology they invented. It's software that works with drones to create CAD files. Not to get too techie. They want to know if this software would be handy in construction. And with my background, I had a meeting set up with them. So I take off. I go all the way to Golden, Colorado, have the meeting, and get home around 8:30, 9 at night. And now there's like 700, the streets closed. And, I could just imagine from my construction days, the phone calls and the stress because, I'm sure Xfinity's like, every resource, there's concrete trucks and I see them pulling, there's like a cable truck pulling this, restringing a section and I'm just like, And I think my internet came on at like 3 a.m. And then the next day, because I get up at 4 a.m., I go out there and it just looks like a boneyard of zombies of guys still like sweeping the street.
What do you do when you're trading and you lose signal with your provider, your broker, your platform even? What are you supposed to do?
Most serious traders trade on a virtual private server, VPS. And normally I do, but through the moves. And what's funny is I even have a free one because our broker, my broker, if you have an account over $10,000, they give you a free one, which I just haven't utilized it. And, I have this really nice computer at home with plenty of RAM and gigabytes. Let's just face it. Internet's massively reliable these days. I mean, everyone's streaming TV. Everyone's got devices. I generally haven't had an issue, at least not that bad, in years, 5 years or so. But I guess knock on wood, right? Because now I'm going to be like, I better put it on a server. But what's good about having the MT4 app on your phone and having a decent, 4G or 5G service is 5G even like, I keep seeing commercials and stuff, but is it rolled out? Like people are actually using it? You just go on your app on your phone and you could execute trades from your phone. I strongly suggest to my clients or my people I coach, especially out of the gate, no, you're not there yet. It's kind of like apprentice plumber. You don't get to play with the oxyacetylene torch yet, dude. You don't get a braze yet.
What happens if you can't connect to the towers?
Well,
so you've gone from from ISP to Wi-Fi to your ISP, and now you're on your towers, and the towers go down.
Well,
what do you do?
Your shit's wide open. That's why you better have stop losses on.
Do you call your broker and tell them to close it?
You could.
You can't because your towers are down.
Yeah, you don't have a cell phone. Even if you have a VPS and your internet goes down, and that same scenario, it doesn't help you in that scenario because how do you log on to your VPS?
So what do you do?
This is why when you put trades on, you put stop losses on. I know I teach a style where you don't. My robot has no stops, but it's also worked into the trading system that there's super small position sizes. I wouldn't stress out if I'm running Wally and I didn't have internet for 2 days because I designed the system around where like I went hunting when I was copy trading with all of your guys's, and I check in periodically because there's a spot where I go hunting where you could get service, and I would drive down and check just to make sure it's still running. But that trading system's designed bar a massive flash crashes. It's designed to you can walk away for a couple days.
I'm still waiting on the elk jerky.
Well, I didn't make jerky, dude. I don't have a dehydrator.
Sounds like
I got steaks.
All right.
I'm going antelope hunting Sunday. What was that? Are we at the Minnesota Vikings station or stadium?
That was a Viking horn to announce
the word that
you can't pronounce.
I might surprise you this time.
I'm pretty sure you won't.
I've been phonetically practicing.
Incorrect. But you did pronounce that correctly.
Phonetically?
Yeah, well done.
Would that be like super ironic if you couldn't pronounce phonetically? Phonetics?
What word is that?
Quad. Your pinky's over it. Quadrennial. Quadridigonal. What is it?
Quadrennial.
Quadrennial. It's a flower that comes back every year with 4 leaves.
Why would I be talking about flowers?
I don't know, dude. It's a perennial with quad in front of it.
Well done.
So it's 4 of something.
It's an event that occurs every 4 years.
Oh, like a presidential election.
That's correct. What I have here.
You'll really surprise me if you know what that would score in Scrabble.
Who am I going to play Scrabble with? I don't have any friends.
Words with Friends.
All right, the knockoff.
that has a cheat app that I used to beat people because it would scan what's on the board and your letters and give you all the possible.
Really?
Yeah, I can't spell. Dude.
Well, we know
it was
that.
like, oh, there's a cheat app. And then I just kept destroying people.
That's
like, man,
awesome.
you're really good. And I'm like, this is easy.
I'm so proud of you. I have in front of me screenshots of the Euro USD, which is the most voluminous pair.
Well, and the two largest. It's the most liquid pair. And it's the two largest economies in the world.
Correct. It's about a month leading up to and then after the U.S. presidential election.
The month before.
Going all the way back to 96. Starting at 2016, going back to 96.
I know exactly what that pair did. Like 15-minute candle-wise the night of. Based on what my memory and based on your chart, the euro started gaining ground and gaining ground fast on the U.S. dollar that night and the weeks prior to it because there was this overwhelming reporting that Hillary is winning hands down. And I think there was just a total denial across all the news outlets. And quite honestly, I didn't believe he was going to win. But the night of the election, like on a dime, I remember it, when the reports are coming in that Trump was going to win Florida or some big state that was, someone had already reported that Hillary won. It was like, and it just switched. And I want to think 150 pips swing in like 2 hours. And then I watched that pair for the next weeks, all the way to January. It was like just rocket ship. And quite honestly, I think it took another 18 months before it kind of started to consolidate. And it's been, the dollar's been super strong throughout Donald Trump's presidency up until, COVID. And we started printing money because
printing money we don't have.
Honestly, we all know my perception, right? I think the Fed's doing that on purpose because we all know if you devalue the dollar, your debt goes down.
The value of your debt goes down.
Right. The value of your debt. So it's like this fine balance. Quite honestly, through COVID, every country was trying to devalue their currency without actually saying we're going to devalue our currency. The only country that actually just does that at free will is China, which pisses every other country off because it gives them unfair advantage in the marketplace.
Well, they do the same thing with steel. It's called steel dumping.
Let's just face it, they're communists. They don't play by the same rules everyone else. They pretend to, so they
government.
So yeah, the government. And what is it? Beijing is supposed where their financial district is supposedly separate. I don't know how that all works, but
it doesn't.
Right. So it's like this facade that we all just pretend like it's they're playing by the same rules, but they're not. So what will be interesting is, like you've put together, has that been the case throughout the years? Is there a correlation to when a Democrat's getting put in office versus a Republican or a conservative? I've only been trading through one of them, possibly two. That was early stages. I don't know if I was really paying attention on that first one, which would have been Obama's second term against Mitt Romney.
2012.
Which, I'm sorry, Mitt, running against your second term, I don't necessarily know if it has that big of an impact. I actually think the markets would favor the current president.
Because of stability?
Yeah, I mean, markets don't like change. And Obama was already in office. They already know what to expect. I don't think Mitt Romney was a strong enough conservative and wasn't campaigning to, like Trump was. I'm going to make corporate America stronger. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember his campaign being very corporate or free enterprise.
Mitt Romney is no conservative. November 6, 2012 is right here.
So we can see a decline or an increase on the dollar, right? So before, you can see a decrease on the dollar weeks before, right? Or days. Those are daily candles. So that's the market pricing in the possibility, in my opinion, of there being a change of a president. And then as we got closer and the election of, it dipped all the way down and then instantly went back. You know, there's just really no way to play that right, because that kind of volatility, I wish we could look at like the VIX on, I know we could, but we're not prepared to. We could look at like the VIX on the New York Stock Exchange and be like, look at the volatility, you know.
Well, we didn't think of that until now.
Right. So I don't necessarily think it's Republican, Democrat. It's more of what they're campaigning. Are they going to give tax breaks to corporate America? Are they going to put more regulations on strong industries? It'd be really interesting to see a president who openly campaigns against oil and gas, to see what that would do to oil if he got elected in that night. Because let's just face it, for many years, oil was a place to just park the majority of your money, because the whole world uses it and everything's made from it. And it's a very strong industry that, in my opinion, is probably the only thing supply and demand doesn't dictate price. Some board of round table does.
OPEC.
And once the Americans became the largest producer in the world, shit got really crazy. We all remember what happened in January. I mean, we all have our conspiracy theorists. But in my opinion, America's winning the trade war. America just became the largest exporter of oil in the world, which puts a lot of pressure on Russia and the Saudis and China, because the trade balance. And what happens a month later? Oh, let's not forget, Democrats couldn't impeach Trump.
They did impeach him.
Oh, wait. Yes, they did. But it doesn't matter because nothing happened, right? He wasn't removed.
Correct. Remember, impeachment is the process.
Right. So it's like you're guilty just by being charged, but you were acquitted. But the rest of your life, you can't get a job because they're like, he was a suspect in a murder.
Correct. November 4, 2008. That was, do you remember who was in that race?
November 4, 2008 was Senator McCain against Obama. Again.
Against Senator Obama.
Oh, yeah. Again, not a very strong conservative type.
Also not a conservative.
Right. And we were coming off arguably an 8-year term of President Bush, and people were kind of, over it. Right. On the
also not a conservative.
Right. I'll just go ahead and say it. I voted for Obama that year, not doing a lot of research, but his campaign spoke to me. I want to change construction industry. He campaigned that he was going to build up the infrastructure again. Did it happen? No. But I think we were all used to the BS campaign.
So here's November 4th, 2008. What do you see?
I see choppy waters, flat. Weeks prior, the dollar gets stronger against the euro, but then pretty much flattens out. That's a perfect consolidation pattern pretty much for the week before and the week after. Now, the night of, the correlation I'm seeing is the dollar gets really strong on the night of. There's a push. It's almost like people are just buying dollars, and then, you see people taking their profit, and it kind of bounces back. The euro bounces back. Again, not a really strong conservative, not campaigning to make America great again through deregulation, which really tells companies, let's go, risk on. Whether you believe in that or not, you tell oil and gas, hey, we're going to take a bunch of what we feel is regulations that are paralyzing you from growing, and competing against the rest of the world, we're going to get rid of those.
Well, we've talked about it. In fact, from an economic perspective, from a business perspective, large companies really don't mind regulations. And their reason for that is because they can afford to adjust their equipment and their processes to meet those regulations. Regulations crush small businesses.
Right.
Because they don't have the resources.
Well, look at COVID.
That's a great example.
Sally's sandwich shop isn't Subway. They don't have the HR, the resources, so then when a governor puts out a 400-page mandate to reopen, you must meet, you got to get the right stickers. You got to have your HR department, provide all these things.
Plexiglass is expensive.
Right. You get faced with all this stuff and you're a 1 or 2 man band and you're barely eking by anyways. You're just going to be like, screw it. Because then now, if you try to operate without following those, they're going to come in, take your license. We all know about the coffee shop here that opened on Mother's Day and someone snapped a photo and, our governor was like, you're out of business. You're done. I'm going to make an example out of you. Yeah, it's bad. And it's the same thing with, big regulations. And if we put more regulations on our global competing companies than other countries, they don't have a fair shake. They can't compete. And, that's why the steel industry and a lot of things have left here. And if anything, COVID taught us, we need masks. Where do they come? Oh, they come from China. We don't make them here.
In 2008, after President Obama was elected, why is it still so choppy in the weeks following it?
Well, I think that is choppy markets just tell you there's indecision. The bulls or the bears aren't taking control. What you're seeing there on a daily chart is everyone kind of slid into day trading strategies, not position. No one was sure about the long-term effects. Let's just face it, we're coming out of the biggest economic. When Obama took office, we still haven't recovered yet. The global meltdown from the 2008, I keep wanting to say residential, but
mortgage crisis.
Mortgage crisis. We weren't that comfortable that we were going to recover fully from it yet.
November 2nd, 2004.
Wow, look at that chart.
That was President Bush's second term.
The second's right there-ish.
It has the little indicator on it. See where I marked
it?
Wow,
that's
with the little flag and the little call out. Yeah.
Weeks prior, the dollar got stronger, and then it was already in an uptrend before very little dip on it, and then just to the moon. The euro is beating the dollar. Now, what we don't have is what's going on in Europe at that time, right? Is this when they added Germany to the Eurozone and people were like, oh my God, Germany has quite a bit of GDP. Let's just face it. What pushes a currency to get stronger is GDP to debt ratio. And when the euro was getting formed, right, and as countries are getting added, quite honestly, I think they're doing it to compete against America.
Well, that's what's going on in Côte d'Ivoire right now.
Côte d'Ivoire?
Côte d'Ivoire, which is Ivory Coast. It's French.
Côte d'Ivoire.
You have 7 former French colonies getting together and forming a collective currency called the ECO. And this was in the newsletter on Sunday. Well, the reason that they do that is so that they can have
Côte d'Ivoire,
a currency that is worth something. Because right now, or as of Sunday, it was 0.0024 to the dollar, which is just a waste of everybody's time. The reason they do it is compete in the global market against very large economies.
Well, the euro, they had to do something because they had all these countries that have no GDP. But it's a perfect example when you have do-gooders and non-do-gooders, and you put them all in a room and you say, look, we know you have this talent and you have this talent. He has no talent, but we can't leave him behind. It's the right thing to do morally. But the conflicts that it causes, especially after so much time, the guy who really had no talent, hasn't picked up any talent being surrounded by talent, and is just living off the coattails. Then the do-gooders start going, this is unfair. And it happens in the smallest scenario, and it happens in the biggest scenario. To me, if you have any kind of critical thought, look around. This example doesn't work. And ultimately, I think the Euro is just going to keep having conflict after conflict.
Well, at a micro level, like what you're talking about, you see that on your kids' athletic teams, and you see that at work.
Right. Like
people get tired of dragging other people.
Well, I get it. Like in 5-year-old soccer, everyone gets to play. But when you start playing competitively,
like you have to try out for the team.
Right.
Or,
high school, right? Like that's why they have a JV league. If you start putting that mandate in there, everyone looks at, well, what about the kid that doesn't get picked? Well, what about the kids that are winning? Now you're robbing them of that glory. And we are desensitizing our society to achieving. I don't know about you. I don't like being average. I don't like being average at anything. It frustrates me.
I'm an average athlete in everything I do, and it's the most annoying thing.
Well, it's just...
I'm just good enough to make a team, but I'll never be the star of any sport. And it's really freaking annoying.
I was never superstar, but I was always the first one picked because I went to a small school. And what that did for me, a catalyst in life, right? I think I look back and going to a small school and being able to play 4 sports, start all 4 years, the confidence that it gives you. I think it's made me who I am, be able to bust past those barriers, right? We all know I was in special ed classes when I went to a larger school.
That was football, wrestling,
baseball. And I even ran track and baseball one year. And, I was a starter from freshman year. And then football, I never came off the field.
November 7, 2000. Now, I have something to tell you about this.
So this Bill Clinton's last...
Correct. He was done with his 8 years.
He's done. So it's Bush and Caucus?
Gore. Dukakis was 88, dude.
Oh, sorry. I just like saying that word, the caucus.
It is a great name.
Now when I hear the caucus is coming, saying...
different.
Yeah, I know. It's still caucus.
I was in boot camp, and we didn't get our absentee ballots.
So you guys didn't get a vote?
No. Oh, well, whatever. We were just hearing about it from our drill instructors about what was going on in Florida, because this was the massive recount disaster in Florida, and it was going back and forth. And so I missed most of that drama. We were just told whatever our drill instructor felt like telling us. Look at that chart, dude.
Where's the candlesticks? Oh, that was a volume indicator you had on there.
Do you want me to go get another one?
No, it's fine. I could see it's a line chart. Pretty big dip. Then it shoots up. Then we have a double top, and it comes back down a couple days later, and then just goes to the moon.
We're looking at an 8-week chart, a daily 8-week chart.
Yeah, so one thing I could tell you about all of these, pretty big indecision period. There's a lot of indecision going on around before and after, no matter who wins. So it just tells you it's probably massively gambling to be messing around on that night. That's why it's going to be fun. I wish we could do a live event the whole week, because that whole week's going to be pretty volatile. I'm hoping to just plant a seed and have it just take off. I will tell you, if you've been trading the British pound through this recent Brexit debacle, you're gambling. I mean, I was looking at the 4-hour candlesticks the last few days. Dude, 120 pip swings within 5 minutes. And it's just like, now I'm just waiting to see the douchebags on Instagram. Look at this move I caught. I reversed it in a second and caught it back.
I was just going to ask you, if you were running a scam signal service, would you have one channel that's on the bull and then another channel that's on the bear? Because you know about the volatility that's coming?
I know for a fact of at least 2 of the most popular I'm not going to say names, signal services that run two. They market one, they market another one, and they just take the opposite trade on them.
With a different name?
No,
Okay.
same name. They put different client bases in these two. Hold on, I got to look at what's going on. I just tripled my profit on a trade. Do I close it or do I keep it? Should retest the bot.
The audience is in desperate anticipation.
Yeah.
What pair are you in?
I'm short the euro US dollar, and it's Thursday,
That's a
and we're in
coincidence.
the Asian session, and 16. Let me just put this stop in at 16,953. I had a take profit at 16.62 or 16.49, and it reversed at 16.53. But I think it'll double bottom.
November 7, 2000. W and Al.
This is
Did you know that Al Gore invented the internet? Were you aware of that?
Al Gore invented the internet.
Just ask him.
Really?
Yeah, just ask him.
I thought wasn't he like super into saving the earth?
Yeah, he made an entire career out of global warming.
Democrat?
Has a few massive houses that need to be heated and cooled.
Yeah, I remember that. It's like, well, do as I say, not as I do.
And travels by private jet.
Yeah, but he's important.
More important than we are.
I think it's really funny as a society, we've kind of put these people on a pedestal so much that we feel like they're more important than us. You know, trading takes precedence over all. Right, Matt?
Without trading, we wouldn't have a podcast.
Right. And I wouldn't have income. Yeah, so Al Gore obviously doesn't win. Yeah, I just see massive indecision. I wish we could measure the pips. I don't know why. Dude, TradingView's free version has candlestick charts, dude. People get very, very touchy about their charts. All right. Don't give me the Matt look. What's the next presidential election?
The previous one was November 5th, 1996.
Let me see if I can remember. Bush won.
No.
Clinton, first term. Against
Second term.
who ran against Clinton?
Bob Dole.
Bob Dole. Yes. Wait until we get to Ross Perot.
Well, I think he ran in 96 as well. Because he ran twice and failed twice.
Okay. He just never made it to the primary.
Do you know how Ross Perot made his money?
Oil.
No.
Furniture.
Just say no.
Raspberries.
He would sell his entire annual quota of IBM
Really?
in the first week or month. I don't remember.
So he would sell his stock?
No, his quota of sales. He would hit in a month or a week, whatever, each year. Because he was that guy.
So he was.
I have a lot of respect for somebody who could sell like that. I don't respect the person you have to become to be able to do that.
Right. Here's my thought. IBM really didn't have a lot of competition back in those days.
Yeah, we're talking about the 70s and 80s.
Right. Not a lot of competition.
It was all B2B back
And it
then.
was all business to business. And let's just face it. Once, this boom of, oh my God, we're a processor and blah, blah, blah. And who couldn't sell their quota each month?
Look at this chart, dude. It looks like a camel.
Yeah. It's quite an impressive move up. And then just think of all those trend traders getting in right here and going heavy because they missed this move. Oh!
And the 11th, it's going up, or
It went.
the dollar is devaluing against the euro. It comes up, and then right around November 20th, it just goes.
It's funny because you know what price is right now? So it peaked out at 1.31.
Yes.
So €1 worth $1.31.
Correct.
No, it's $1.31 for €1 because the lead currency is always one. What do you think price is as I'm watching my profit?
1.28.
1.17090. So back in 95,
96.
96, the euro was much stronger than the dollar than it is today. You're getting less dollars back, or it's closer to being 1-to-1 now than it was then, which is pretty big amount of pips difference there. Looking at all of these presidential elections, thank you, Matt, for putting that together, by the way.
I didn't do it right.
Yeah, your chart sucks, but all I see is a bunch of indecision. There's no correlation versus Republican or Democrat. The one correlation I see is massive price volatility. Lots of indecision. People selling off, people thinking it's cheap. So it's a perfect recipe to lose your ass. So I strongly suggest, unless you are a seasoned veteran fundamental trader, even then it's going to be like gambling that night.
And you're talking about a seasoned veteran position trader, aren't you?
Yes, position, swing. I mean,
Patient.
If you're an investor and you have plenty of capital, you're just going to ride that turbulence out, right? And go, all right, now I can see the trend. What I'm going to do, and what I'm going to do live, is we're going to try to go down to a smaller time frame and use, some simple tools, Bollinger Bands, price action, and just try to capitalize on that volatility, which can work very well for us, or we're not. And one of the things I am going to do is have super tight stop losses. And I'm probably going to trade pretty big positions with tight stops. And I might take 3-4 hits in a row, but I'm going to stick with that move I think is going to happen, or let price action tell me, we're taking over, we're going to go short for a little bit and try to catch that, move. And then when it reverses, it's going to just be really, really tough. And it's going to be something I'm not used to, switching my positions on a dime, going, it's long. Oh, I hit my stop. Go short. One thing that I can tell you, there's going to be lots of pit movements, and they're going to be hard and fast. And what looks like a pullback is probably going to trick a lot of people into continuation of that trend. Because I will tell you, trend traders are probably going to fare worse than people who are not so much counter trend, but fade traders. You've heard me say that term before.
I have.
Some of the plays I have in my trading playbook are how to play a fade. It's not something a lot of people do very often, but it's going to be a very handy strategy that night, because we're going to have big, fast impulse moves, and you got to make that decision quick. And then you might get a 20, 30 pip pullback on that move, which just rubs people super wrong, because they're like, you see this huge green candle and you're selling it. You're catching a falling knife. We're all taught, and it's true. When you see a huge green or red candle, it means that's volume going into it. They're buying that pair. They're selling that pair. On that night, it's going to be all the gamblers. And very well could be, let's say the Euro US dollar pair shoots up. It very well could be that it's not people are buying the euro, it's people are selling the US dollar because they're just wanting to remove risk. Where normally we see the bulls are kicking, people are pumping money in. Well, the same thing happens if people are pulling money out of that pair. What will be funny to watch is the other US dollar pairs and how correlated it is. Because one of the things that I'm noticing doing this session box breakout is generally the Euro US dollar leads the charge, or the US JPY, the two most liquid pairs imaginable. They lead the charge, and they typically have the false breaks more often. And I've been using the NZD and AUD USD pairs to kind of confirm, because they kind of follow suit a little bit delayed. So if the Euro US dollar shoots long out of that box right at the session open, I try to wait, and then I switch over to the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, and if it's starting to move up, creeping up, I know we got to move on the dollar or against the dollar if those pairs are moving up. Sorry, I get all fumbled around.
Are you familiar with the show Bar Rescue?
Yeah.
Great show with John Taffer.
John Taffer or Tapper?
Taffer.
Taffer.
2 Fs.
Yeah.
If you're interested, he has a great story about how he came up. He came up through the restaurant business and figured out how to make money for restaurants. And that's his thing. Just like Goodfellas and just like Seinfeld, doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm going to stop and watch it if I'm scrolling through my channels, even though I already know it. And in a Bar Rescue, you pretty much know what's going to happen.
He's going to lose his temper.
Just by watching the owner and how he acts. You know if he's going to save it, if he's going to walk out, or if he's going to try it, it's going to fail. You can just tell by watching the owner. He was actually, on this episode that I watched, he was up the road in Aurora, Colorado, at a restaurant. And this owner was more concerned with entertaining his guests by serenading them instead of running a restaurant that serves food and drink, or a bar, a tavern.
Serenading them?
Yeah, he was up there singing on the little band area. It was weird, dude. It was awkward for everybody. I'm sure the film crew were like, what the hell is this guy doing?
Was he even a good singer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Taffer brought in his expert chef, the owner couldn't even make, the singer, the serenader, couldn't even make a bowl of pasta, dude. Now that's okay, but he's the owner operator. Right. He's not a silent partner. He's not managing a group that manages the restaurant. He's the owner operator. So he's in there every day. Why would a guy drop a fortune to be the owner operator of a restaurant without being able to cook anything? This reminds me of people who dump inheritances and life savings into trading. Why? Why? What are they doing?
Well,
what is the thought process to do that? Because, you know, you're talking $250,000 to a $500,000 initial layout for a restaurant.
Right. And then, not to mention the amount of work you're spending there.
Well, sure.
Right? Time. And then you just refuse to learn the basics of...
And restaurant work is hard work.
Dude, trading attracts... And I don't want to just blame all the douchebags that, you know, false advertisement. Because, you know, people have a mind of their own. But trading attracts... The only thing you need is capital. And people think, like, because they have capital... I see it all the time. Doctors, lawyers, highly intelligent people that have abundance of capital. And they've been able to win at everything in their life, right? They were number one in their school. They were valedictorian. They went on to be a doctor, which most people can't.
Captains of the football team.
And they get their ass kicked being an intern and go through, you know, surgeons and highly other intelligent people, you know, tell them what to do for 7 years, and then bam, they're a doctor. Think about a doctor. Everyone around them is always looking to them to solve a problem. Unless it's a doctor higher up than them. Everyone's asking them what to do. So just their very nature is they feel like they're in control of everything. And the worst thing you can feel or get to in the markets is feel like you have any control over anything but yourself. The only thing you have control of is how much risk you're going to put on. How are you going to act when it's moving against you or in your favor? Which I find I have more problems with a trade. I had a trade. I'll be honest. I pulled my stop today and it was banana head. And at one point I had a trade where it should have been cut off at 1% risk because that's what my rules are trading the system. Well, I pulled the stop, and at one point today I was 10% down in drawdown. And it came back up to where it was only 4%, and I closed it and took the loss. But I got lucky because it didn't have to do that. I had no control at that point. I'm banana head, should have took a 2% loss because there was 2 trades that totaled almost 10% drawdown at one time. Now, my experience had told me it was a fundamental jobs jolt, and I had a really shitty entry on these trades. I was late on the box break, but I told myself, oh, I'm late on it. The probabilities are still there. It's going to continue. And I entered the trade right at a peak in price right before a very big news fundamental comes out. Because of that, I pulled the stop and went on the ride. Luckily, I was able to come back and, you know, cut my loss in half. I had zero control at that point. I wasn't in control of my system. I wasn't in control of my emotions. I was relying on sheer luck. And when doctors and lawyers, these educated people, like you said, they inherit money or they come from money, they generally carry themselves like they could, buy people out. Or
so it's an ego thing.
It's an ego thing.
Do you think, well, people also do it out of desperation, don't they?
Yeah. And believe it or not, a lot of people are gambaholics. They are after that thrill.
The action.
And if you have endless amounts of capital, that's all they're really after. And they're just looking for that thrill. And a lot of people that get into trading, why else? We talked about this in our self-sabotage. Why else would you just throw way too big of a position on, no stop, when you're drinking at night with your buddies, other than to feel good if it wins? There's no way it's repeatable. There's no way it's, in a structured business type. Like, I don't go plumb someone's basement when I'm drunk, right?
But you don't buy a restaurant either when you're drunk.
No. I just think people see the successful people in any market.
And they don't see anything else.
They're like,
they don't see the struggle.
I just want a restaurant. It's my dream.
Is this the same guy who's going to buy a Cadillac Escalade and put a lift kit on it? I saw that today.
Yeah, it's kind of I saw a luxury Range Rover lifted with like mud tires. And I'm like,
what are you doing?
You just destroyed that car. And even if you want it to be like tough looking and cool, you can't take that car off road. No offense to anyone that drives Range Rovers out there, but they're pieces of junk. And, they're meant to last the term of a lease. And you
or
turn
the first oil change. Yeah.
Right. If you want to join us into our Gambaholic trading night on November 3rd, we're going to be streaming it live, probably on Alan FX Facebook page. So go on over there, follow it now. We're just going to see how it goes. And, Matt's going to be over here and we're going to have a jolly old time. And politically, I don't think whoever wins that night, any of us really win. I think it's just going to be turmoil on both sides. But it should be an interesting market. It should be a very interesting up and down market. Lots of volatility. And we're going to try to capture some of that night.
Thank you very much for listening. Please join us next week.
Over and out.
If you'd like to learn more about Clayton signals, please visit www.alanfx.com. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram at OFPMatt.